I'm going to share one of the most profound things that changed my perspective when it comes to money. It's from the book Happy Money. In the book, he says that when you wake up in the morning, you don't expect not to breathe. You expect to get out of bed and fill your lungs with air. Like you just expect the air to be there, even though we're sharing the air with everyone else on earth. Yet we still don't have this thing like when we get up in the morning, there's not going to be enough air for us to breathe. You should treat money the same way. You should wake up in the morning and expect money to be there, just like you expect air to be there when you wake up in the morning and breathe. And even though there are other businesses, other people that do what you wake up in the morning and just like you expect an abundance of air to be there for you to breathe, you should expect an abundance of money or the potential for you to make the money. And yet when we think about this, we're like, oh, wow, that really makes sense. But we don't usually treat things like this. And a lot of the times, just our parents weren't that savvy when it came to money, and they didn't teach us a lot of the mindset things that are really necessary to be able to be successful in business. So the first limiting belief is that you need a lot of money to make a lot of money. And that's just not true. What you do need is you need attention, you need an offer that people actually want to buy, and you need the skills, the desire, the drive to be able to fulfill your promise and deliver on that offer. Those are literally the only things that you need to be able to charge for something. You do not need a lot of money to make money. I mean, I've personally built a multi-million-dollar business and I only had a couple of $100s when I started, but then those couple $100s turn into a couple of $1,000. That couple of $1,000 turns into tens of thousands. You reinvest back in your business, but along the way, you also gain skills. You understand people better. You understand value. And at the end of the day, that's really all money is, a language of value. Money is just proof and evidence that what you're offering to someone else means something to them, that they find that it's helpful, that they find that it has saved them time, or it has saved them energy, or it has given them something that they wouldn't have been able to get without you. And that's really what the word value comes down to. So what resources do you have? Not just skill sets, but experience. Who do you know that you could also tap into their network, their skills, their experience? Focus on what you currently have instead of what you currently do not have. And it amazes me that when these high-level executives leave corporate sometimes, they have been making companies. They've been getting paid, let's say, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year for many years. They reach their 25th or their 20th anniversary in corporate, then they leave and they go to entrepreneurship or they go to do their coaching business and they find themselves like they don't know how to apply the skills now. It's almost like the skills just disappear. And so if you could be making someone else's company millions of dollars, because that's what you're worth, if you're getting paid that amount, then why can't you make yourself that much? You may even have tangible things that other people may find for money. I heard this woman talk and she said that when she was going through divorce, that she was at her lowest point. She checked her bank account and she had literally no money. Her children were going to come back home and she needed enough money for them to have dinner and like toilet paper. And she said that there was nothing in her account. So she looked around her house and she said that when she was doing very well, she had bought fancy milk. So she had these milk bottle things as decoration. And she said that she got them all together and took them to the store and they gave her like $20 or something for the milk bottles all together. And she was able to buy dinner and toilet papers. You have to just look at what it is that you even have now or what you can flip. Facebook Marketplace, you could refurbish furniture, you could sell it there. There's so many things. And that's when you really understand the language of money is not just, oh, going to a checkout and doing this and doing that. It could literally be anything that you're good at. I was also reading an article the other day where this guy cleans rims and he charges $50 and he's doing 20 people's rims a day. And so he has a business doing this and it's just cleaning rims. You just have to be creative when it comes to that, but you do not need a lot of money to make money. So number two, the second limiting belief around money is that it takes a lot of time. And when you surround yourself with successful people and you see someone have $1 million day, or you see someone make a call and they close right on the spot, $100,000 deal, you start to think very differently. Even when you break your own limitations and maybe in a day make what you made 3 years ago in a year, you have to just get better at what it is that you're delivering. It doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of time. And I think sometimes we limit ourselves in this. I've heard people say it took me 10 years to get to 6 figures in my business. And I don't think that that's necessary, number one, to wait that long. I think with the right guidance, you could definitely do it within a year. And there are people that do it within a month. Sometimes we don't even realize it, but we cage ourselves by even the time constraints that we put on money. It's crazy because sometimes we do this to ourselves, but let's say that you need to make rent, or let's say that you need to come up with XYZ amount, or if somebody's told you today, hey, you could buy this $500,000 Rolls Royce or $2 million Rolls Royce for $10,000, you'd probably find it very quickly. Don't limit what you could do, how many people you could help, just because of the huge amount of time that you give yourself to do it, because you think that it's necessary in your mind. So revamp what you think is possible for yourself. So if you're saying, hey, I'm going to take my online business to 6 figures in 3 years, then ask yourself, how could you potentially do that in 6 months? How could you potentially do that in 12 months? Maybe 3 months? And don't say that it's impossible, because it's definitely not impossible. So number 3, people say this all the time. And every time I hear this saying, it's like I cringe. I'm like, no. But this one is time is money. And trust me, as a cancer survivor, I can tell you this, time is not money. Time is 1,000 to 100,000 times to 1,000,000 times more valuable than money. If you were to go to Warren Buffett right now, and I think he's like 90 years old at this point, and say, hey, Warren, if you lost all your money today, you could go back to when you were 30 years old, you would lose everything. Would you do it? Every single person, including Warren Buffett, including Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, every single person of the wealthiest would say yes. Why? Because they cannot get back time. What I have here in my notes is that the richest people I know value their time the most. And when I'm coaching someone, I really know that they're struggling with this. When I see that they're saving a penny, but costing themselves tens of thousands of dollars just to save that penny. One of my clients who I love, I'm not going to say her name, but she needs a babysitter. Actually, I know a few of them right now that need a babysitter because a lot of the children are at home and things like that. So when you break down the cost of a babysitter, let's say that on average, it's like $25 an hour. And let's say that that's 40 hours a week. That's $1,000 a week for that babysitter. And in most states, honestly, you could probably get a babysitter for a little bit less. But I just went high so that you can see the value of this example. In those 40 hours where you pay $1,000, I would say you invest $1,000, you could generate a few $1,000s easily, or you could do work such as create a coaching program or create a digital asset that could go on and make hundreds of thousands of dollars for your business. And so we have to start thinking about things like that. Stop trying to save a penny just because you're too short-sighted. Don't cost yourself tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the long term just because you want to save a penny in the short term, especially when it comes to your business. The fourth thing, and this goes to, again, if you want to expand your network, if you want to reach high-level connections and actually get them to accept your request and start conversations with people that you could eventually serve. Doesn't have to necessarily be clients, but maybe joint venture partnerships, investors. Maybe you are an investor and you want to find startups to invest in, then go to yougrow.club and join me for the masterclass. But number 4 is your network is your net worth. And this is another one that makes me cringe a little bit, because at any given point, your network is far more valuable than your net worth. And I'll prove this to you with some very simple example. So let's say you have just 1,000 people in your network, 1,000 connections, 1,000 professionals, whatever. And let's say that on average, each professional, and again, I'm going low on this, especially in the LinkedIn crowd, but I want to prove a point. So let's say each person in your network on average makes $50,000 a year. That's a potential of $50 million that you could tap into. So if your net worth, even with 1,000 connections, does not reach 50 million, then your network is not your net worth. You still have to tap into it. Let's take it down a notch. Let's say you only tap into 1% of 1,000 connections. So that's 1% of that $50 million of potential that you could tap into. That's still 500K. So if you're on social media and you have 1,000 connections, 1,000 followers, 1,000 friends, whatever, and you're not making 500K a year, that means that you have yet to tap into just 1% of those 1,000 connections. And so that's pretty mind boggling. So your network is not your net worth. Your net worth is a reflection of your ability to build relationships and get seen and be trusted by your network. So number 5, having more money is going to make you less happy, or that having more money is going to make you a bad person. And that's just not true. And I want you to think of it this way. Do you feel happy when you're able to do things for other people? Do you feel happy if, God forbid, there's an accident, you're able to help people with their medical bills? Or do you feel happy when you're able to step up to the plate and help someone with their rent who had a bad month? Or help donate food to people that are starving? That should make you feel like a better person for most people. And so if that's true, and if you want to make a bigger impact, because if you're listening right now, you're probably a leader who doesn't just want to do things that they're not passionate about, but who's actually interested in making an impact, then by default, you should want to make as much money as humanly possible so that you could have more resources to help as many people as possible. I don't know where this kind of belief comes from, but I know one thing. Going to sleep late at night with nothing but stress. There are people that go to sleep that are thinking, how am I going to buy food tomorrow? How am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to pay these medical bills? Money is one of the greatest reasons why people get divorced. All of those things, stress in and of itself is a silent killer. It's not good for your health. It's not a good state of mind to be in. I would argue the opposite. As someone who's been in both positions, I could say that not having to go to bed with that stress is probably the most life-changing and rewarding thing that you could ever experience. And then to take it a step further, more rewarding is when you're able to help people that have fallen on bad times or that are in an emergency. You could just make little impacts along the way because you have more resources, because you have more money. And so you have to start thinking about that. If you really want to make a big impact, you have to have those big resources to back that up. If you want to start leveraging LinkedIn to not only get clients, but start getting in front of very powerful decision makers, then go to www.ugrow.club and I will see you there. God bless you and have a beautiful day. Ciao.